Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Chaos TV's live coverage of the US Challenger Series number 20. It is day 2, semi-finals day, and the first best of 3 is going to feature both Cloud9 Eclipse and Team Mouse. I am Vince Mettis Hill, joined alongside me is going to be James Stress O'Leary, and as you can see, we're already into the picks and bans.
We are indeed, and this is going to be another great series. We seem to always just have amazing series every time we go live here for the Challenger Series. So we're already in the bans phase. 4 have been completed. Renekton Gragas banned out by Cloud9. Kha'Zix and LeBlanc, 2 very high profile, high damage burst champions being taken away from this game already.
Yep, indeedy, and we did see Kha'Zix a couple times yesterday being ran from Q, so you can definitely understand why they'd be banning that one out against Cloud9 Eclipse, who breezed through, it has to be said. Stress, I know that you were actually quite impressed with their performance as well in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I was. I was glad to see Cloud9 returning to form, and interesting, I wondered, did they miss a ban on the stream, or is that a client bug on my side?
It looks like they missed it. Yeah.
Okay, I wonder whether that's a client issue or not, but unless it's a choice. It could be a choice because in this situation then they're kind of leaving a couple of picks open, which has allowed them to grab Lulu as a first pick. So, I don't know.
But it has left Cassidy open, he has just had some changes to him, so I'm not too sure if we're going to be seeing that one picked in. They have just switched over to Yasuo, so about 30 seconds for them to decide.
Yeah, it's one of those things. We are on the live patch. We are currently on live servers, so 4.4 is the patch we're playing on. So it is the Cassidy after the changes. And to be honest, the players haven't had that much time on this patch at all. Maybe 12 hours at best when you think if they actually woke up at 6 this morning to play it. I don't think they're that dedicated to learning Cassidy. But Annie has been locked in alongside Nidalee. Nidalee, of course, was a pretty strong pick when played up against Lulu in the previous patch.
Yeah, very poke-centric, very good for sieging, and you mentioned this yesterday as well when I believe we saw Orianna played in mid, that it's quite a similar champion in many ways to Lulu. It's more of a utility kind of mid laner that's there to pop the ultimates, the wild growth to keep people alive, but also has a lot of poke herself with a Glitter Lance, and it's quite a scary champion to play against, especially if Lulu starts to build some steam, gets a couple kills. That being said though, they're going to go for the Evelynn and Sivir picks alongside that, so I'm assuming the Evelynn's going to be running from the jungle.
Yeah, that's what I would put my money on right now. And, we've seen a couple of junglers running Evelynn again. She's seen a return to the jungle recently. More of that tank build with spatterings of AD being built in there as well ever since Ravage got changed to physical damage. So we've seen the return, and this is a return to the jungle as well. We saw, I believe it was one game on Jarvan about 2 weeks ago in LCS. I think it was over in North American LCS as well, if I'm remembering the game correctly. So, Jarvan now being brought back perhaps into the jungle, and was a very, very strong jungler in the European and North American scene for the majority of Season 3.
Yeah, so going on from that point, why do you think he started to fall off a tiny bit? Because as you say, Season 3 he was picked pretty much every single game or banned, and now he's starting to see a bit of a resurgence. Is there a straight line reason for that, or is it just a case of other junglers kind of stepping up?
That's one of the biggest things. Other junglers started to become played a lot more. You saw the prominence of Pantheon and now Wukong as well. And it's one of those things that Jarvan's still as strong as he was. It just didn't really fit quite as well as he used to. Now, in this game, we've got Nami being picked up for Cloud9. So that's going to go alongside Sivir in that bottom lane, and they rounded out their picks with a Jax as well. We've seen Ryze come back into the meta. We'll see whether Mouse do decide to go on that against a Jax, because that's 2 very high scaling late game champions.
Wow, that's pretty awesome, honestly, because Nami was played a lot in Season 3 as well, especially towards the end of Season 3. Did see a bit of a drop-off, and now is coming back again. I personally love watching Nami play. I think she's an incredibly underrated support at the bot lane, so to see how that will work with Sivir, who also got a couple of changes as well in the patch. I believe some of the mana costs for her spells went up, and the cooldown, I think, for her mana shield went down. So I think in the patch note thing they said, basically we want more risk reward for Sivir at bot lane, not like consistent push.
Yeah, that was one of the things that they really wanted to highlight, was that Sivir is pretty strong at pushing, so they just wanted to curve that off slightly and make it a little bit more rounded rather than just push everything down all the time without being punished on the mana. That Rise did get locked in for Mouse, so that has now finished up their lineup, and that is, we're on a new patch, and there's a couple of new or old champions, however way you look at it, being brought back in. So this actually could be a very interesting game once again, not only just for the teams, but for the team compositions involved. So make sure you guys, stick with the stream page, but while we've got a couple of minutes, open up a new tab in your browser by scrolling down the screen, click on the link to Esports Venture that is down the bottom of the page. Make sure you follow that link, sign up for your account. You'll get some awesome extra bonuses for doing so if you follow the link. So make sure you follow the link. Check out the Esports Venture page. They're awesome. They support us. Make sure we can put on the Challenger Series. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with game number 1 of this best of 3 in the semi-finals here at the European Challenger Series. Welcome, guys, to game 1 of the semi-finals, number 1 here in the Chaos TV Challenger Series, number 20. We've already got a very aggressive play out here. We only just managed to swap over in time to see Ku get taken very low in his own jungle, and Mouse are going to set up camp here as well. I am James Stress O'Leary. Alongside me is Vince Metters Hill, and this should be an awesome best-of-3 series.
It definitely should be. A very, I have to say, evenly matched squads here going up against one another, Mouse and Cloud9 Eclipse. I'm still on the loading screen, Stress, so do jump over me if anything happens. I'm not too sure what's happening here. Fingers crossed it's not going to bug on me. We had some issues yesterday, so EUS, please stay up to date. But regardless, best of 3 as you said, and I think this could very well go down to the wire.
It's okay. It's early on, and Odo Amner takes the spear. This early doesn't really do too much damage there, so we're kind of lucky that, thankfully, even though this is probably one of the most aggressive starts we have seen in a very long time out of a team in the Challenger Series, Mouse really don't take too much from that. They're going to invade this blue. They'll obviously assume that the Cloud9 group are going to head over to their own blue as well, so it's just going to be a blue trade to start this one out.
Yep, I have managed to load into the game as well. You can see that Libic is coming up here. He's getting some scouting down just to see that the blue buff has been stolen away, as you say that. So blue buffs will be traded across. Makate's picked up the opposition blue. And you're going to have both duo lanes going to bot lane, which will leave Jax versus Ryze at top lane, which I have to say, Stress, is not something I've seen a great deal of.
It isn't something that I've seen a great deal of either, but both of them are very late scaling top laners. I kind of expect Jax to have this very early game aggression.
You're flashing in to secure the first blood. Ignite was popped down before that, so both summoners were used, and Ryze did go through his flash as well.
I mean, the thing is, Ryze in the previous patch, of course, we are on 4.4 now, guys, so live servers, the patch hit today. In the previous patch, Ryze got the health buff in the beginning of the game, but he still has the limitation of until he gets his core items of Tear of the Goddess, the Catalyst into Rod of Ages, and then really start getting those tank items, he's actually still fairly susceptible to high early game damage, and that's what Odo Amner brought to the table there. Managed to pick himself up the kill and a big CS lead.
Yep, that is massive for this stage of the game. He's going to be recalling, picking up his second Doran's Blade and a Stealth Ward on top of that to make sure he doesn't get ganked from the shadows, courtesy of Makate's Jarvan the fourth, which again is a champion we haven't seen for a little while here, especially in the Challenger scene. But speaking of Makate, he's just kind of looking around the river right now, kind of caught in two minds where to go.
Okay, so there's a lot here that I think the Jarvan is going to tie into. There's a lot to talk about on this new patch that is going to change a few things. One of the biggest things is I'm watching top lane. Odo Amner is going to find Makata and dodge out. It's all okay. So Elise received a fairly heavy nerf. Her stun duration at the early levels got nerfed, and that's kind of allowing other junglers back in. Now Elise isn't such a high priority pick. A lot of junglers even think that she may even drop off. Her kit's still great and makes her kind of viable in some situations, but it allows junglers like Jarvan, who are still fairly strong, to get picked up.
Alrighty, well speaking of Jarvan, he's being chased down from Evelyn, will be flashing away on his own tower just to survive, and now Ku is caught in a precarious position. Here comes Kubon from the side. If he can pick up this double buff, this would be astronomical for Kubon and takes him back into this lane. Remember, he did receive first blood from the Jax, so that double buff is going to be huge.
And this is something we actually saw out of Ku that was somewhat uncharacteristic yesterday, was when he was playing very, very aggressive and not really looked like he was in control of everything.
Yeah, Dominate jumping aggressively onto Kubon, but he's going to be chucking through those health potions. He should be alright.
Yeah, he will sustain his way back up. And while we were down in the bottom lane there, a couple of little things to note. That, of course, Sivir did get those adjustments. So it means that the Boomerang Blade is going to do slightly less damage on subsequent hits on when it goes through multiple enemies. The damage on hit is slightly higher, reduced. Also gets a mana increase on Ricochet, so it's like not quite as efficient damage as it used to be. But apart from that, not too much else got changed, just that little mana increase on the spell shield. But on the side of Annie, AP scaling increased, reduced base damage though, which means that early game she's not going to be able to trade quite as well as she used to. So look out for that little bit less damage in this bottom lane from both sides.
Do you think that's why supports like Nami can now be a tiny bit more viable, because they don't have to worry about the raw burst damage that Annie would bring to the lane?
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the reasons why we've seen Nami here. Of course, Nami's stun was always going to be viable, but the problem is that in that factor of supports, you had Thresh, Leona, and Annie. They traded so well in the early game that even the power of a stun from Nami really wasn't enough to overweigh some of that. So we've seen maybe this change to supports. Again, the patch only hit today, so it may take a couple of days to have all of the repercussions of the patch filter through.
Yeah, that's very true. It's normally the way it goes. But that being said, Ku is coming around from the side. Boomerang Blade does land on Makler, so he takes a bit of poke, but nothing too serious. Ku is going to be coming in from the top lane right now. Top side, I should say, of the lane. Libic will get the stun off, but then has to flash away. The flash in from Ku as well. They are looking to secure this kill on Libic. They will pick it up, and now Makler is trying to turn this one back around. He has a cavalry charging in with Makate, as he does manage to dodge out of the Aqua Prison. Is it going to be enough damage, though, to secure this, as Ku did flash before to secure that kill on Libic, and it will be the Pilt over Peacemaker, if I can get my words out right, securing that kill as Makate very nearly forced to ignite, but he will survive.
Makata just surviving on that one. That would have been a nice pickup there for Cloud9, but again, Ku being very aggressive, picked up the kill, unfortunately had to burn his flash for it, and again, that aggression is getting punished, and you can see Hyanan flashing up red there. They've got to be careful, as it looks like that top lane has started to equalize a little bit now, as Jax is at a point where, with that Catalyst to the Protector on Rise, not quite as able to really trade as well as he was at the very beginning of the game.
Yep, he has just jumped on again, and Odame is going to be returning in kind with the Rune Prison and the Overload right in the face of Jax. Whereas at bot lane, Makler and Libic has just rejoined the fight here. Still has his Ignite up. Makler has both of his summoners compared to Hyanan with his Flash down. And on top of that, Voidal has burnt his Ignite. So in that way, I guess you could say that Mouse do have the slight upper hand in terms of summoners.
Ooh, they just forced the Flash out of Odo Amne in the top lane as well. So that's another important one. You can see Kubon taking full control of this lane right now. And it's because he's got the extra levels as well, putting them into Overload. Between that Catalyst and the extra levels, that Overload damage is just getting bigger and bigger, and that AoE damage is going to be pretty significant once he starts putting that in with the ultimate as well as the bounce. Down in the bottom lane, Channel comes out from the ace in the hole there.
Yeah, it was blocked away. Top lane, though, is going to see Rise taking down one, looking for a second, but Jax will secure that one. Still, that was a 2 versus 1, and Kubon managed to pick up a kill, so it could have gone a hell of a lot worse for him.
There's a lot going on this map right now, and there's a lot to talk about at the same time, which is why I'm so happy that we're having this series. Again, we see that Ku picked up again 1 and 3. This is not what we're used to seeing from Ku, and he's kind of playing Evelynn like he would want to play Lee Sin, and that's being very aggressive, getting into the jungle of the opponent, rather than kind of sneaking into lanes, and it's kind of backfiring on him. He's got to be a little bit more careful because Evelynn is somewhat susceptible in this early game.
Yeah, Hyanan blocks away the Pyromania spell that fired his way on the hunt, has been used as well. There is Ku alongside him, but opting not to go in just yet, as the tower has fallen elsewhere on the map. That is going to be bot lane actually falling down. I was looking across the map, I was like, where the hell was that? It's at bot lane where I was looking anyway. Libic has been caught out from Ku. We'll be able to Tibbers that one out though. Ku has 8 and Ignite as well for his troubles. Going to be chasing on to Libic. Flash in from Nami. Even though the Aqua Prison did not land, it forced Libic back towards zone AD carry, but here's Makate again with a perfect counter gank. They're going to secure 1 kill, potentially 2 as well, onto Voidal. Remember, this tower is down. He's got a long way to run, and he'll be falling. Question is, who's going to pick up this kill? It'll be Makler.
I'm a little bit surprised here that Cloud9 are not paying attention to the warding of Mouse. Mouse had a pink ward, so scouted that gank as it came in. And typically, when you're playing an Eve, pink wards are easy to spot top lane. Looks like they're going to get the disengage. But typically, pink wards are fairly easy to predict the placement of when you're playing Evelynn. So you go into the bush, clear out the pink ward, and come back for a gank at another time. Ku is not checking for these wards, and there are already 4 pink wards that have been on the map for a little while here, so normally you shouldn't get away with this as a team playing against an Evelynn. You should have been punished for that gold expenditure and just deter a couple of ganks. Typically you ward deep into a jungle with green wards onto camps and you spot her clearing her jungle. But Ku is playing so aggressive that they're neglecting to clear the pink wards.
Well, Lipic has just actually roamed to mid lane and forced a wild growth from Featherven, which probably, judging by his movement, he was really not expecting that. And because they've weakened so much and got that wild growth burnt, they're going to go for the dragon. Meanwhile, though, kill goes down in mid as Take Fun gets taken out, courtesy of Cloud9 Eclipse. Dragon is still getting taken out right now from Mouse, but they do have some problems coming in, surrounding them. However, Smite has been used on Dragon. Hjarnen's going to pick up the return kill, though. Makler is now next in line with all the chunk that comes in from Ku. On the Hunt was used in the meanwhile, so they're going to be able to keep into contention to take that kill. Aqua Prison lands on Libic. He should be falling as well. Bouncing, the Boomerang Blade, I should say, comes in, does catch the edge of Libic, and they're going to secure this kill pretty comfortably, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's just a case of finalizing the kill here as Libic is laughing as he's walking. That will be the kill. They give it up to Hjarnen. That was, I was going to say, they should really give that one to Hjarnen, and they do. So, looks like Cloud9 have started to stabilize from a couple of risky plays out by Ku. That dragon did, of course, go over to Mouse, and, I mean, looking down the board, Cloud9 have got the advantage in the middle lane when you look at the CS, and again, top lane, they're going to trade again.
They're so aggressive on one another. It's going to be Odamne who gets the first kill before going down to the Ignite, I believe that was. Yes, it was. And it's a shutdown, actually, coming as well from Cubon. So in that exchange, I guess you could say Cubon comes out slightly ahead because of the bounty you picked up.
Yeah, it was a mix between the Ignite and one last bounce of that Spell Flux. Just kind of bounced from a minion and did that last little bit of damage. But that top lane is trading fairly evenly, and we're actually going to be in a situation where Jax and Rai is going to do a good job in the late game. Flash comes out. That's a gank deterred by Makata, but they'll be very happy that they got the flash from Sivir.
They did, and the ultimate as well. Tidal Wave was used from Voidal, so nice little gank. But then again, I think Jovan also flashed. Yeah, Makate burnt his flash to get close enough to land the Cataclysm mid lane. Again, you can see that Q is just hanging around, trying to be a nuisance. And I saw someone in chat asking, is Mouse the ex-MYM team? Indeed it is, other than Take Fun has joined in for Charu, who obviously left the squad.
Yeah, and I think Take Fun's going to get away with this coup. Don't dive turrets coup.
Please,
Take Fun's not something that we've had a chance to talk about yet because there's been so much going on, and I might still not get the chance here as they burn the flash out from coup. But Take Fun brought into the lineup ever since Charu left. They were playing with Chuyu for a while. Looks like things didn't work out with Chuyu, and they've decided to go with Take Fun. We haven't seen a lot of the Mouse lineup ever since, but take note that in the Riot Challenger series, they lost 0-2 to Reason, who lost to Cloud9 yesterday. So extrapolate from that what you want. On the Hunt has been used.
It has. Hjarnen's doing a lot of damage to Take Fun. There is the ultimate as well. Agony's Embrace from Evelyn. Chasing after Take Fun underneath the tower. Does have enough damage, but will be falling from the tower herself. So 1 for 1 in that case. But meanwhile, Sivir did go down as well. So 1 for 2 overall, with Mouse coming out ahead once again. Also, Tibbers was used previously. I'm not sure if you caught it, Stress, in the jungle, trying to take out Naomi, but completely missed. And that was a big ultimate that was not available in that fight.
It's a big ultimate, as you said, not available, and I'm a little, not confused, because we know that Ku likes to play aggressively. That's his style, but he's playing overly aggressive, as if there's a kill in the top lane again. To be honest, that top lane right now is just kills every couple of minutes, which is going to create problems for both teams if they keep feeding late game carries like Ryze and Jax, but Ku is dropping quite a few kills, has got a few for himself and his team in the process, so it's one of these high kill games that we honestly haven't seen a lot of in the previous couple of months.
Yeah, I have to say, from a spectatorial viewpoint, Stress, this is awesome to watch. But if you're looking at this as, you know, let's have a solid game of League of Legends, it's a bit of a head-scratcher because both teams are just going ham. 19 kills at 14.5 minutes is not a stat that we often say in Challenger scene games. That is a very, very strange statistic.
There have been 5 deaths on top laners and 7 kills in 15 minutes. We haven't seen that since Season 3. It's not heard of. We've been dealing with Mundo Shyvana. It's such a difference. Like, it's catching me off guard, especially when we've got so much to talk about on this new patch.
Exactly. It's like every time you try and theorycraft, there's like 4 kills go down.
It's okay. I'm just gonna stop until things happen now, but you know, it's okay.
Well, top lane is going to be falling any second now. Voidal and Hjarnen going to be trying to pick this up. I say that, but actually Tibbers comes down from the side. Libic is going to be engaging on this. Tidal Wave comes back again. They're going to turn this fight around. They do pick up the support. Meanwhile, 2 towers fall elsewhere on the map. Both of them will be for Mouse, plus the AD carry will be taken down there from Makler. Another kill comes in as Jarvan comes around from the side and secures that one onto Voidal.
Another 2-for-1 trade in favor of Mouse. They're going to look maybe for a third on Ku, but Ku will, of course, get away from that one, being Evelyn's going to be pretty tricksy and escape. But it looks like they're going to now focus his turret. They'll get another turret from it and now take the turret lead. But what will they lose in the middle lane? Again, top lane is just trading.
Yeah, flash in from Odom there, and he will be securing that kill. My goodness, this is aggressive play. And he's already moved on to 4 for 2, whereas Rise 4 and 4. So as you're saying, both top laners are getting massive in this game.
So, you know what I think this is? We're used to seeing Shyvana and Mundo just kind of trade against each other and no one died. These characters, not so good, and Forbidden is being forced to flash out because there's a 4-man party heading straight for him.
Yeah, used Wild Growth as well, so he's very vulnerable right now. If they can catch up in time, Javelin comes out, it's not doing quite as much damage as I'm sure Take Fun would like at this stage of the game. But then again, he's only got Athene's and Holy Grail, so that is, he's going to need to get Needless Large Rod, build into something like a Rabadon's Death Cap or a Void Staff before he starts to chunk players down, but they do force them back regardless.
I'm just surprised at the pace and the... I don't want to be overly critical about saying sloppiness, but what I mean is, if you take away the way that top laners have been trading, 4 kills on a Jax or a Ryze in the top lane at any other point in time is almost game end, because they will scale so well if they've got kills this early, but they've been given to both of them, and it just feels like they've been trading for the sake of trading. And ever since they gave away the first kill at level 1, they've had to trade like this. So they've really escalated their own builds through far faster than anyone would like them to. And it's going to reach a really weird point around the 30-minute mark where the trades are all going to be in favor of those top laners.
Agony's Embrace, Talon Wave was used, Take Fun will be flashing away, however that'll leave Libic and Makate very vulnerable. Both of them could be falling here, in fact it's just going to be Libic. Whereas Evelyn is picked up from Rise. Previously, Dragon was taken as well from Makate. Ace in the Hole coming out from Makler. In fact, it was cancelled as he lost vision. And look at Jarvan's health. He's on around 50 as he recalls. This can leave mid lane pretty vulnerable, though.
And from that, Ku dies again. I'm so surprised to see 5 deaths on Ku. It's just the way this game is everything is non-stop trading. I almost feel like we're watching a game from the Chinese meta.
Yep, mid lane still taking a pounding, but the creep waves are finally falling down, so they should be able to stave off the onslaught here, Mouse. Indeed they will. Take Fun recalling, must have a fair chunk of gold. Yeah, he's got 1.6k in his back pockets, and that could go into a needlessly large rod. Indeed it will. Now his javelins are going to start to pack a bit more punch.
The rulebook seems out of the window today. I'm just gonna be honest. It's like patch day. Let's just trade. It's okay, guys. But no. Okay. Let's take a look at some of the changes and items that have been picked up here, and see if we can bring a bit of focus into this game. Because Rise has got his core items already. You can see Rod of Ages alongside that tier of the Goddess is what Rise needs to get into this game. When you take into account he's got 5 kills as well and is holding 13, now 1400 gold, he's gonna get pretty tanky pretty quickly from this point, and we're 20 minutes in, nearly, and that is a bad place to be for the opposing team, because that means Rise is going to blow people up, but Forbidden's being caught out in the middle lane.
He has. A couple of ultimates have been popped as well there. Forbidden will be going down to Jarvan. So they get the pick again, and it's strange because I'm not sure if you agree with this statement, Stress, but this feels a lot later in the game than 19.5 minutes. I would say around 30. 25 to 30 is where I peg this one.
It really feels later on in the game, and we can see Mouse are actually going to escalate this right down the middle lane and take out this middle tower, and there's not a lot that Cloud9 can do about this from their current positions, but they're going to try.
Round from the side, Q and Hyanan trying to make some big plays. Libic is going to go down first. Makate will follow, and now Take Fun underneath that tower tries to secure the kill on Voidal. And what looked like a pretty simple mid tower has completely backfired, losing 3 players, and now Cloud9 are going to push through mid.
Yeah, I said there's not a lot they can do. I didn't see Ku off at the side, I'll be honest. I was trying to fix my mic just before that, so my bad on that one. But they are going to look for this Baron, and with the single target damage from Jax with the Blade of the Ruin King along with the rest of Cloud9, they're going to look to take this Baron down pretty quickly, and it doesn't look like Mouse can really contest this at all. They're not even going to try, they're going to push the bottom lane instead.
which isn't a terrible idea, because as you say, how do you protect that Baron? Especially when you've got a pretty beefy Jax, there's 5 players smashing it down. So Makler decides, I'll just play the objective game instead. I'll push this bottom tower, get at least 1 turret, and do a fair chunk on the inhibitor tower as well. So he's going to be backing away. However, Febiven is in hot pursuit with the Baron buff. Down to bot lane. Here comes Libic as well, so need to be a bit careful. In fact, Makler's just going to back off.
Right. Hopefully, I think we've got a quiet period here. This might be a moment to recompose ourselves because, my goodness, do we need it? This game has been so aggressive compared to what we've seen, and when you look at it, the Baron just went over to Cloud9, and this game is only just over a 1,500 goal difference between these two teams. So it's just a back and forth slogfest, and it's difficult to see which team is going to get the better of the engagements as they kick off, because it could go either way. It really just depends which of the two teams gets the better engage. Cloud9 are going to go for this middle turret. They will take that before any kind of answer from Mouse comes out. But the inhibitor turrets are significantly more difficult to take here.
This has always been one of the downfalls I feel about Nidalee, is unless you get quite a large chunk of AP, it's difficult to siege against a team that's pushing you consistently, especially with Baron. So they take the middle tower, they were pushing to the inhibitor tower, now they're going to back away, potentially wait for a pick, or just until the creep wave comes on in. So it's going to be an interesting passage of play, this one, Stress. I feel like a pick could make all the difference.
Yeah, as always, a pick here would pretty much spell the end of an inhibitor turret if it were going in favor of Cloud9. But now that Cloud9 have the Baron, they can pretty easily regenerate up their health in between these, but they've got to be careful of sieging into that Nidalee. Those spears are going to start to do a lot of damage now that needlessly large rod has been picked up. And you can see that Cloud9, even with the Baron, look like they don't even want to take this. I think Forbiven might be stacking gold. Yeah, he's on 1800 right now, so wants to get a little bit more in the way of itemization, but Odo Amna's going to go.
This is a flash leap strike, counter strike. Libic gets crushed down. But they used, I believe, 2 or 3 ultimates. Yeah, On the Hunt was used, plus the Tidal Wave and a flash from Odomne. But they do secure that kill regardless. You can see now Mouse coming around from the side. I'm going to be flagging and dragging on top of Febiven. Ace in the hole comes through as well. Febiven is forced to use that Wild Growth instantly. Ku flashing in will finish off that kill onto Jarvan the 4th. But now Odomne coming around from the side, not in range to land his counter strike. If Ryze can Rune Prison him underneath the tower, could do a chunk of damage. But leap striking away, he should be alright. And now that they've picked up the kill on Jarvan the 4 and Caitlyn has to go back, this should be a free tower and potentially inhibitor.
Yeah, I mean, it's only spears that are going to come in now to deter, but Libic is back and he still has Tibbers available because they managed to burst him down before it was used. So it's a game of cat and mouse now. They've got to get away from Libic because a counter engage would be pretty catastrophic there. You can see Hyanan even spell shielding early to prevent any stun there, but that all stemmed from the cancelling of the recall by Forbiven. It cancelled the recall, made sure they got the pick there, and the engage tool of Tibbers not available for the fight, and they just chased on. They've taken out another.
Nidalee, what are you doing? Gets completely decimated. Ku is now in the front line. He's going to go down. Shut down from Makate. Wrong place at the wrong time for Take Fun. However, they managed to turn it back around, pick up the jungler, and they will be taking down this dragon as well.
And overall, once again, only about 3,000 gold is the difference. It's a good enough difference now when you consider that Cloud9 have got that exposed inhibitor on the base of Mouse, but it doesn't look like Cloud9 want to push it. The death time is a pretty low still, so Take Fun is about to come up, but it's now into the rotation game. Can Cloud9 get around the map faster than Mouse can defend, because their Baron buff has expired. So now it's a case of they have to be very, very careful about where they look to siege. They're going to back off and itemize, and I think this is the right time to do it. You look at Forbiven is actually nearly at 2,800 gold on him there, so they need to go back and spend some of that.
Yeah, especially considering that up until the point when he recalled, he only had an Athene's Unholy Grail, Sork Shoes, and a couple of Doran's Rings. So that is going to be a big power spike for him, having the Sea Large Rod and the Blasting one building probably towards the Rabadon's Death Cap. He is also going to get the blue buff as well from Ku. So watch for big things here from Febiven, because I have to say as well, Stress, a lot of these fights has been Febiven being focused, using Wild Growth on himself, and then the rest of Cloud9 trying to clean up.
Yeah, and it's kind of a weird situation. Ku is being aggressive again.
And he is probably going to go down. He's very tanky though, actually. So more tanky than I was expecting. Probably more tanky than Mouse were thinking as well. Tidal Wave comes on through. As On the Hunt has also been popped. Take Fun gets caught from the side of that one. Mackler is trying his best to escape, and he will manage to do so. Strangely enough, nobody falls in that encounter.
Yeah, Ku got quite a big shield there from the Agony's Embrace, and alongside the Randuin's Omen, he can actually tank quite a lot of damage there. Now we're into the situation where, without an inhibitor turret, they've just got to make sure that they don't get tagged by those spears and they can start to push down the inhibitor. But they do have to be pretty careful, and as you were saying, that they've been forcing out the Lulu ultimates quite a lot on himself, and Lulu's one of those mid laners where if the rest of your team are doing well, she can do well even if she's cutting even with her mid lane opponent, because the utility side of that mid laner makes it so that you're not relying on her for the damage. They've got the damage from Jax, from Sivir, and from an 8 and 6 Eve as well, because Eve's Agony's Embrace is going to do that percentage damage. They're going to get more from Ravage and from Hate Spike as well. So it's one of those things is that as long as Lulu is surviving the fight and can give that utility to the rest of the team, it's actually not too bad for them. And it's one of those cases that, you know, Forbidden's getting caught out, but as long as he doesn't die, it's not too bad.
That's true, and if he expends a lot of abilities and summoners like Ignite on him, it's actually not terrible, because then there's not too much power to take down likes of Hyanan or Ku or Jax. There's so many threats on the side of Cloud9 right now. Hyanan has been caught out, will be spell shielding the Flag and Drag, flashing out a Cataclysm as well. But still, that was a red buff picked up for a couple summoners, so not terrible for Mouse.
The thing that it does give Mouse now, though, is a big window where Hyanan's flash is going to be down. So if that happens again, he can't flash out for another few minutes, and that is going to spell the end of Hyanan. His only choice is to stand and fight, so that's actually a surprisingly big summoner to be down now, especially by the way that Cloud9 are playing, because they're not being all that safe with their rotations. They're getting caught here and there, and really, these two teams do have to tighten up a little bit.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people kind of face-checking brushes when there's been 3 or 4 enemies in there, and it hasn't quite paid off at times. And other times, though, Ku, as we mentioned before, Agony's Embrace plus the Randuin's was enough to keep himself alive. That being said, though, Take Fun, Mackler, and Libic, pretty precarious position, may want to back on away, because On the Hunt is such a long-range engaging utility-based spell. It's difficult to really know just how far you can be engaged from. And in fact, that's exactly what's happening here. Tidal Wave has been popped in, flash away from Libic. He still gets caught though. Take Fun goes in, Tibbers onto Ku only. Is that going to buy up enough time for the rest of the team to get in here? The cavalry has charged in, but Kubon is going to get completely smashed. Ku now chasing in the front lines onto all 4 players, but they've done enough to probably take down this inhibitor. In fact, they may go a bit further. Take Fun going through his barrier there. As Ignite is ticking down, he will just about survive, but they do take down that important inhibitor.
Cloud9 are just being super aggressive onto that inhibitor. Now they're going to rotate out towards the Baron. They could do that play on the inhibitor because of the fact they picked up Kubon as their first kill in that. Kubon right now is where a lot of the damage is going to come from in these fights from Mouse, and with him getting picked off on his own, Cloud9 pretty much had free reign. You saw Ku dive into the backline and has been caught out once again, but he should get away from this. He dived into the backline, got the Agony's Embrace off, got a big shield, but it looks like they're going to contest this Baron.
They're going to try and steal this one away. Cloud9 taking quite a bit of damage from Baron in the meanwhile. Mackler coming around from the side. Are they going to be too weak after this Baron, though, to stave off the onslaught? Javelin comes in, cleans up that kill. Makate now is going one better. Hyanan is in the front lines. He's going to get pumped. Double kill coming in from Nidalee. Febiven's trying his best to escape. Another Javelin lands. We have reached that stage where Nidalee has hit critical mass and is going to be chunking players down. Gets a belated triple kill, I believe, there from Nidalee. Looking for the 4th onto Odomne, who should be tanky enough to deal with that damage, but still a huge fight for Mouse.
And that was this really nice awareness of Mouse of what stage of this game we're in. We're not even 30 minutes in. Doing a Baron from that kind of fight where you only took out 1 member is not a safe call right now. They got a lot of damage on Ku as well before that fight, so even though the Baron went over to Cloud9, Cloud9 were forced to take that Baron. Otherwise, they'd already got it under a quarter of the health, so Mouse would have got an easy steal on it. And regardless of what happened there, Cloud9 had to stand and fight. You saw the Cataclysm once again go on Tihanen, and we mentioned it earlier, no flash means no escape for Sivir, and that just meant that they managed to pick up 3 kills there, get themselves that top lane turret as well, and stay somewhat even on the gold here between these two teams. They're going to get Dragon, which will help them even more.
Yep, they should be able to pick this up fairly comfortably. Well, I say that, but O'Domine is chasing right down into a 1 versus 3, but he has the reinforcements behind him. So, in actual fact, it's going to be a Dragon taken out for Cloud9. Libic will be recalling that, and he should be able to buy up a couple more items, so will Jarvan. Interestingly enough, Caitlyn going for a very damage-centric build here. Infinity Edge, Bloodthirster, Phantom Dancer. Hasn't even finished off the tier 2 boots yet. Doesn't need to.
And it's one of those things that the way these fights are going is Cloud9 are constantly pushing into them, so as long as Caitlyn's kind of staying a little bit further back from the front, you can see Takeplan actually taking a lot of damage there. As long as Caitlyn is staying in a safe position, those level 2 boots, the actual movement speed won't affect too much in the fight, but just trying to maximize damage here, as you were saying.
Yeah, whereas when you look at the opposition, Sivir's got the double Dorans and doesn't quite have the same amount of damage output right now. The pickaxe is going to be a bit of a deal breaker. That being said, Cloud9 firing the tidal wave doesn't actually connect onto anything, so they're probably just going to back away here and let the Super Minions do some work in mid.
Yeah, they actually, I believe, only have Baron buff still on Jax. Yeah, only Jax still has that extra regeneration. So even though they got that inhibitor down, they really don't want to sit under a turret and take spears all day long. So they're going to make sure that mid is pushing through, just secure some of the jungle there and go again for round 2 once they've healed up a little bit. But saying that, Forbidden takes another spear. They have to heal, going to back off. And that's what Cloud9 are going to do here for a little while, just while they try and get those supers pushing in, but there goes Odoamne.
He's going in deep here with Ku, and Kubon is going to probably be falling. That's a big chunk of damage down, but Ku is completely isolated from the rest of his team. Wild Growth now coming in from Lulu. They're going to be turning this one back around. Look at how tanky Ku is. He's eating so much damage, absorbing it like a sponge. Now it's Flag and Drag away from Makata. They picked up the 2nd kill, they picked up the 3rd and the 4th as well. And suddenly, in the blink of an eye, Cloud9 are probably just going to win the game outright right here. In fact, they're going to go for the inhibitor first because it has respawned Scumbag inhibitor, and now the Nexus towers will follow.
And again, Kubon drops first in the fight. They're going to get another kill here for the ace. Kubon dropped first. That is the majority of the damage right now from Mouse, and Cloud9 will pick up a very scrappy, very aggressive game here in game 1 of our semi-finals in this best of 3.
I think, honestly, scrappy is the ideal word to describe that entire game. It was so exciting though, so many kills early on, players just going for the jugular, not really thinking about macking